So let's go to chapter 17. Let me get my computer on. Chapter 17. Page 17. By the way, I don't know if you've noticed on the chapters, and it more than likely does not matter right now, but out of the 6 chapters that you have, 6, I do believe, in the book, oh yes, we're going to be Mardi Gras colors again today.
Wait, what page is it?
17. Out of the colors, not the colors, out of the chapters, once we get past chapter 2, the chapters not being numbered might start messing with your head. Particularly when we go to do our term paper at the end, and you're going back and trying to hunt for something. So you might just want to start scribbling the chapter number down because it does not come with a chapter number. I had a question. Hey, Zachary, where is that green button I wanted? Can I get this bigger? I had a question about those chapter 2 questions that I sent. We're still on chapter 2 right now. And I am going to give everyone time, of course, to answer those in class. But we're still reading chapter 2. Remember, we truly try and limit homework this year across the board. So when it comes to your ELA classes, I'd rather you have homework elsewhere, okay? So just know that those have not been assigned for homework. All right, let me attempt to get rid of this squiggly. And we had a problem yesterday with a new character who will never be named, and that is Curly's wife. She and the boss are your 2 characters that will never get a name, and we will take a look towards the middle of the book as to why. It's actually going to be a pretty good chunk of your term paper to speak about the naming of the characters and to speak about the characters that have no names, and we're going to have to give a reason why they've got no names. So that's the boss that you've met, and you really won't get a lot more information about him, and Curly's wife. And wow, you are going to get maybe way too much information about her. George and Lenny have been having a conversation about her, and George thinks that she's jailbait. Now this means if we mess with her, we're going to get in trouble. Someone's going to jail. Someone's getting in trouble. So George is begging Lenny to remember something else. Leave her alone. If she comes in a room, go to the opposite side of the room. Don't get anywhere near her. She is trouble waiting to happen. And of course, the other thing that Lenny has to remember is if he gets in trouble, go back to where they started. Go back to that little river. All right, so here we go. Lenny tried to disengage his ear. Now, because George has a hold of it. I don't know if anyone's ever grabbed your ear before, but that's what's going on. I never done nothing, George. No, you never. But when she was standing in the doorway, showing her legs, you wasn't looking the other way either. I never meant no harm, George. Honest, I never. Well, you keep away from her, 'cause she's a rat trap if I've ever seen one. You let Curly take the rap. He let himself in for it. Glove full of Vaseline, George said disgustedly. And I bet he's eating raw eggs and writing to the patent medicine houses. Lenny cried out suddenly, I don't like this place, George. This ain't no good place. I want to get out of here. We got to keep it till we get a stake. No, that's S-T-A-K-E, which is rarely used anymore. It's their savings. It's that money that they're going to use to go ahead and put money down on a little farm, okay? He's hoping for $100. Can you believe that? $100 back in the 1930s, that would have been you putting money down on a farm. And then you would just make payments on the rest. Can you believe that? We can't help it, Lenny. We'll get out just as soon as we can. I don't like it no better than you do. And he went back to the table and set out a new solitaire hand. Y'all, even though George and Lenny are unlike the other guys who are always alone and travel alone, they do at least have each other. But with George, even when Lenny is around playing solitaire, George isn't alone. Lenny's there. But that's supposed to remind you that George feels lonely. You can feel lonely when you are around people. All right. He went back to that table, of course, and set out a new solitaire hand. No, I don't like it, he said. For 2 bits, I'd shove out of here. If we can just get just a few dollars in the Pope, we'll shove off and go up the American River and pan gold. We can make maybe a couple of dollars a day there, and we might hit a pocket, meaning they might hit a vein, a pocket of gold. Yeah? Lenny leaned eagerly toward him. Let's go, George. Let's get out of here. It's mean here. And we gotta stay, George said shortly. Now shut up now. The guys will be coming in. Well, from the washroom nearby came the sound of running water and rattling basins. George studied the cards. Maybe we ought to wash up, he said, but we ain't done nothing to get dirty. Okay. And now, do you see all the highlighting? Welcome to the introduction of your Christ figure. In higher level novels, many times you are going to have a character written for you that will symbolize Christ, Jesus Christ, who is out to help people spread the word and spread love and harmony. This is the person that you can always trust and go to. And this guy's name is Slim. Say, huh? Okay. So a tall man stood in the doorway. He held a crushed Stetson hat under his arm while he combed his long, black, damp hair straight back. Like the others, he wore blue jeans and a short denim jacket. When he had finished combing his hair, he moved into the room. Pay attention to what I have highlighted, and these are examples of how he is a Christ figure. And he moved with a majesty achieved only by royalty and master craftsmen. Do you recall that one of Jesus' first jobs? Carpenter. He was a jerk-line skinner, the prince, not the king, right? But the prince. A prince would be the son of the king, like the son of God. Following? He was the prince of the ranch, capable of driving 10, 16, even 20 mules with a single line to the leaders. He was capable of killing a fly on the wheeler's butt with a bull whip without touching the mule. There was a gravity, meaning a seriousness in his manner, and a quiet so profound that all talk stopped when he spoke. His authority was so great that his word was taken on any subject, be it politics or love. This was Slim. the jerkline Skinner. His hatchet face was ageless. He might have been, I've highlighted here, 35 or 50. How old was Christ when he died? Anyone? 33. 33 years old. His ear heard more than was said to him. That's because he feels what you are going through. He is empathetic. Sympathy is, oh, I feel sorry for you. Empathy is, I get you. All right? And his slow speech had overtones not of thought, but of understanding beyond thought. His hands, large and lean, were as delicate in their action as those of a temple dancer. Now, of course, if you're thinking of the Beatitudes, if you're thinking of the Sermon on the Mount, if you're thinking of all those times that Christ in the New Testament of the Bible spoke of love and harmony and people, gosh, it sounds like speeches today, doesn't it? People just getting along. But there were also times when we see his anger and his frustration in Jerusalem with the moneylenders, and he kicks over in the Bible the bowls, the jugs, where they are taking people's tax money. And then he begins some political speeches in the Bible too. And that's why it's mentioned in here that he can speak, Slim can speak of anything from politics to love, just like Christ in the New Testament. So trust me, this is going to be a go-to page for us on a paragraph for our term paper. I have highlighted in green, as you see, some things that you are going to want to quote. So that part of the work has been done for you. He smoothed out his crushed hat, creased it in the middle, and put it on. He looked kindly at the two in the bunkhouse. Where are the kids? Okay. It's brighter in a bitch outside, he said gently. Can't hardly see nothing in here. You the new guys? Just come, said George. Gonna buck barley? That turned very quickly today. Good. That's what the boss says. Slim sat down on a box across the table from George. He studied the solitaire hand that was upside down to him. Hope you get on my team, he said. His voice was very gentle. I got a pair of punks on my team that don't know a barley bag from a blue ball. You guys ever bucked any barley? Hell yes, said George. Sorry, whenever I see those two words, I have to go super southern. Okay. I ain't nothing to scream about, but that big bastard there can pick up more grain alone than most pears can. Lenny, who had been following the conversation back and forth with his eyes, smiled complacently at the compliment. Slim looked approvingly at George for having given the compliment. He leaned over the table and snapped the corner of a loose card. You guys travel around together. His tone was friendly. It invited confidence without demanding it. See, everyone else are like, you guys travel around together? But this guy, he's not judging. There's no judgment. Yeah, I'm open to whatever answer you have for me right now. That's Slim. Sure, said George. We kinda look after each other. He indicated Lenny with his thumb. He ain't right. Heck of a good worker, though. Heck of a nice fella, but he ain't right. I've knew him for a long time. Slim looked, oh, I love this line, y'all. Slim looked through George and beyond him. That is when I tell you, whenever I get you and I understand you, and I say I see you, we see each other, it's like I get you. gets it. He indicated Lenny with his thumb. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I went right back up. Where's my favorite line? Ain't many guys travel around together, he mused. I don't know why. Maybe everybody in the whole damn world is scared of each other. This is a book about prejudice. And you know what prejudice is? Whether you're prejudiced against people or whether you are prejudiced against Brussels sprouts that are cooking in your grandmother's kitchen on Thanksgiving Day. You have prejudged those people. You have prejudged those Brussels sprouts. You have decided that you don't like them or you don't like the Brussels sprouts before you even try them or before you get to know them. And this is a book that's written right after World War II, right after the Holocaust, right after Hitler wants to try and erase a race of people from the universe. And this statement, I believe, is as important today as it is in any other day in our history. Because, once again, maybe everybody in the whole damn world is scared of each other. I mean, let's just go ahead and put that on bumper stickers, coffee cups, and get me a t-shirt. Because truly, I think it's just based on ignorance and fear. We are sometimes scared of things that we are absolutely ignorant about. Yeah? And that might explain a whole bunch of the ignorance that is in the world today. And now, as a teacher, I got to tell you, I love teaching ignorant. I love it. Because you can teach someone who's ignorant. They just don't know yet. Now, stupid, bless his heart. Lenny, that's a hard job. That is not my skill set. Ignorant, I can work with ignorant. You just don't know yet. So maybe there's a whole bunch of people around the world right now who are hopefully getting more and more educated. Sir? Yes, they're right over there. Please go the back way, all right? It's a lot nicer to go around with a guy, you know, said George. A powerful, big-stomached man came into the bunkhouse. His head still dripped water from the scrubbing and dousing. Hi, Slim, he said, and then stopped and stared at George and Lenny. These guys just come, said Slim by way of introduction. Here's a new character for you. I've highlighted his name. Glad to meet you, the big man said. My name's Carlson. I'm George Milton. This here's Lenny Small. Okay, and for those people who back in the 1940s just picked up the book and maybe didn't know that it was being ironic, naming Lenny's last name Smalls, here's Carlson for you. Glad to meet you, Carlson said again. You ain't very small. He chuckled softly at his joke. Ain't small at all, he repeated. Meant to ask you, Slim, how's your bitch? He means dog. I saw you look up. So did Mr. Shane. It's a doggy. It's a female dog. I seen she wasn't under your wagon this morning. She's slaying. She gave birth to. She slaying her pups last night, said Slim. 9 of them. Okay, y'all, listen. This is out of mercy. Do not start hating on Slim. I drowned 4 of them right off. She couldn't feed that many. They were going to die a slow death, and the mother would have allowed it. Don't look at me like that. He's still Jesus. Stop. It was mercy. Okay. Got 5 left, huh? Yeah, 5. I kept the biggest. Well, what kind of dogs you think they're going to be? I don't know, said Slim. Some kind of shepherds, I guess. That's the most kind I seen around here when she was in heat. Carlson went on. Got 5 pumps, huh? Pups, not pumps. Pups, huh? You gonna keep all of them? I don't know. Have to keep them a while so they can drink Lulu's milk. Carlson said thoughtfully, well, look here, Slim. I've been thinking. That dog of Candy's, oh, we got a name.
Candy.
Is so gosh darn old, he can't hardly walk. Stinks like heck, too. Every time he comes to the bunkhouse, I can smell him for 2 to 3 days. Why don't you get Candy to shoot his old dog and give him one of the pups to raise up? I can smell that dog a mile away. Got no teeth, damn near blind, can't eat. Candy feeds him milk. He can't chew nothing else. George had been staring intently at Slim. Suddenly a triangle began to ring outside, slowly at first, and then faster and faster until the beat of it disappeared into one ringing sound. It stopped as suddenly as it had started. There she goes, said Carlson. Outside there was a burst of voices as a group of men went by. Slim stood up slowly and with dignity, of course, because he's our Christ figure. You guys better come on while there's still something to eat. Won't be nothing left in a couple of minutes. Carlson stepped back to let Slim precede him, and then the two of them went out the door. Lenny was watching George excitedly. George rumpled his cards into a messy pile. Yeah, George said. I heard him, Lenny. I'll ask him. A brown and white one, Lenny cried excitedly. Come on, let's get dinner. I don't know whether he got a brown and white one. Lenny didn't move from his bunk. You ask him right away, George, so he won't kill no more of them. Sure, come on now, get up on your feet. Lenny rolled off his bunk and stood up, and the two of them started for the door. But just as they reached it, Curly bounced in. So that's an interesting verb to use for a guy that I have already likened to a little dog that wants to take on big dogs. Okay? He didn't walk in, he didn't run in, he didn't stumble in, he bounced in. All right? So you seen a girl around here? He demanded angrily. George said coldly, about half an hour ago maybe. Well, what the heck was she doing? George stood still, watching and I have this highlighted because I want you to get to know Curly. He is an angry little man, okay? He said insultingly, she said she was looking for you. Curly seemed really to see George for the first time. His eyes flashed over George, took in his height, measured his reach, because remember, Curly's a boxer. You know what I mean? So how far can I get back from you? There you go. He looked at his trim middle. Well, which way'd she go? He demanded at last. I don't know, said George. I didn't watch her go. Curly scowled at him and turning, hurried out the door. George said, you know, Lenny, I'm scared I'm going to tangle with that bastard myself. I hate his guts. Heck, come on. There won't be a damn thing left to eat. They went out the door. The sunshine lay in a thin line under the window, and from a distance there could be heard a rattle of dishes. After a moment, the ancient dog walked lamely in through the open door. He gazed about with mild, half-blind eyes. He sniffed, and then lay down and put his head between his paws. Curly popped into the doorway again. Once again, didn't appear in the doorway. He popped into the doorway. This was after he bounced into the room and stood looking into the room. The dog raised his head, but when Curly jerked out, the grizzled head sank to the floor again. we are going to thank on this other page, 18, we're going to thank Carlson for really only one thing right now. Because Carlson's suggestion is to shoot the old dog. So we're not going to thank him for that. But we are going to thank Carlson for, and I'm already on a highlighter, we are going to thank Carlson for giving us the guy's name that is missing his right hand. His name is Candy. So Candy, right here, I've highlighted it for you, so when I hit done, don't worry, you're going to get my highlight, okay? I don't know today, but it's, you know, laissez-vous, whatever, happy Mardi Gras. Candy is the man who's missing a right hand. You just need to know he's missing a hand. I would never get that specific because which hand he's missing does not matter. Candy has the old dog. Candy was the old guy. You know, here's the problem. Bo's not on an owl because I'm really wondering why y'all all up on each other. Candy is the guy that when George and Lenny came in, Candy was really nice to George and Lenny. But did you get that he was a little bit of a gossip too? Like, yeah, he's a little bit of a gossip. You'll get to know him better. Candy, of course, George and Lenny are our protagonists. They are our super duper main characters. This story is about George and Lenny. But this story is also about Candy. We could go ahead and say he is now going to be a main character. And this story is only about someone you've heard about, my favorite character of all times, played beautifully by Courtney B. Vance, Crooks, whom you will get to know. So we've got George and Lenny, gonna have Candy, followed up by Crooks, okay? And then Slim, Curly's wife, Carlson. Carlson is who he is. He's a gruff kind of guy. Yeah, I know he was pleasant to George and Lenny, welcoming, hey, how you doing? You know, he gave them that. But when Carlson then immediately suggests to go ahead and shoot Candy's old dog and get him a new one, that's just the kind of guy he is. He's kind of heartless. And I don't even know if that's the adjective I want to use for him. That might be what you want to use for Carlson. It's just when something is broken, replace it or fix it. He's that kind of guy.
Like he may be like kind of like feelingless maybe, or like lonely, like maybe stuff around him doesn't react inside of him.
Every single person in this novel is lonely. And every single person is dealing with their loneliness in a different way, right? So for Carlson, because he doesn't have sympathy or empathy for others, he's just a worker. When something is broken, and if you can't fix it, trash it. Now, all dogs on a ranch or a farm at this time are working dogs. Candy even told us how great of a sheepdog that dog used to be. Those dogs work. So for Carlson, I can't fix him, let's throw him away. It's just another piece of non-working machinery for Carlson. And that is heartless, that is unsympathetic. He's not being empathetic toward Candy. He doesn't understand the way Candy feels, an attachment and a love like your pet is your family member kind of thing. He doesn't get that. That dog is just like any tractor I have that's broken and I gotta fix it or trash it and get a new one. Okay? Yeah. I've never had anyone who says, well, Carlson's my favorite character. He's kind of awesome.
He's my favorite character. He's kind of awesome.
I don't know why you like Slim so much.
He's my
Crooks is kind of boring. Carlson's the man. Nobody ever says that.
He's gonna be my favorite.
No one ever says that. Okay, so here's what you can do now. Go ahead and let's go to your chapter 2 questions. I did see where many of you had already started answering those, and that's great. Some of you didn't though, which is also great. You were waiting for us to get there. Go on to your chapter 2 questions. Keep it short and sweet. Keep it short and sweet. Those answers. Yes, sir.
I already finished.
Okay. Listen, we want to answer those right now. So I'm going to give you a chance to answer those, and then we'll go over them, okay? Sound good?
Yes.
All right, cool. Would you guys like to say goodbye to Roniel and TJ?
Bye. Bye, TJ.
Adios.
See you. Ron John. Bye bye.
Bye, guys.